All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 300 of the Holy Backboard podcast. I am Dustin here in Rip City, and I got my man
Sage chilling live and direct. 300 episodes is what an accomplishment. Like, dude, we did it with like no real fighting, no real drama. We just quietly produced episode after episode, and now we have come to a momentous occasion of 300 episodes. It is awesome, man. And there's so many people that have supported us along the way. So it is great. I'm really happy to be recording on this 300 episode, man. There's so many people that have helped us. So thank you.
Yeah, we've got some OG listeners from almost like day one. Like Anise has been rocking with us for a long time. Long Story Longer has been rocking with us for a long time. She's amazing. Backstory. I worked with her when I used to live downtown, and I found out she was making sandwiches for the people in need. And I was like, how do I get involved? And I worked with her for a year or two doing that, delivering sandwiches every Thursday. So just she made masks for me and Olga right when the pandemic started. Yeah, sent one to you as well. First mask that I was going to wear was obviously Blazers themed. So just goes to show the type of person that she is. Kim Thrasher's been with us for a very long time. There's so many people to thank and that have been listening to us. I mean, we get Facebook messages from people in Eastern Oregon saying, "Hey, I love your podcast. I'm not on Twitter, but like keep doing what you're doing." It's incredible. Like I can't believe like the Holy Backboard brand started in 2009, but we didn't really start podcasting together as a duo until 2015. So to think it's been 7 years of pretty much weekly content, like we are now like in the upper echelon of long running like sitcoms, basically. Like we are there.
Yeah, we need syndication soon, man. And like, I'm going to school for another thing. I've done broadcasting since 2009, and a smart like 21-year-old told me that was 13 years. So I've been doing this for 13 years, and this is kind of like a celebratory thing. Like 300 episodes is insane. So let me shout out some people that have absolutely helped me along the way in these 13 years of doing this. Obviously, my mom has to be number one. She's been my ride or die. But my first ever radio show, I had 30 minutes of dead air because they rushed me through the actual onboarding process of becoming a DJ. And there was one person that actually listened to the entire thing. So I have to shout her out. Shout out to Collab. Shout out to Corey. Shout out to all these people that have rocked with me from aggressive hip hop to sports broadcasting throughout this entire fucking, journey of stuff. So, there's so many people I want to shout out, but my mom, like, there's just so many people. Like, this isn't, I mean, this is a thing for you and I to create, but it wasn't just us. There was people that, gave us support when we needed it. So thank you to everybody who's ever listened or, is going to listen, because this is the 300th episode. This is one hell of an accomplishment.
And we can't forget Teen Mom, Tara.
Oh yeah. Tara was one of the OGs too. Like I remember talking to her like year one, like all of these years have been like kind of like jumbled together. Like, when I think of years past, I think of like Blazers additions of subtractions. Like, oh, this is the year that we spent all that money on Evan Turner. This is all the year that we drafted Zach Collins. Like that's crazy to think about. Blazers things that we covered as actual dates and times for 2017, 2018, or whatever.
We started in 2015.
I know, dude. I was in my mid-20s when we started.
Yeah, you're an old panda now.
Bro, like, just think though, I started doing this, not this, but like broadcasting when I was 18. I'm 31. That's fucking, that's more of my life than like doing anything else. Like, I've been talking, or explaining why this aggressive ass hip hop's so cool. Like, it's been a while of doing this, and
You're closing in on getting those AARP mailers that come to my house, every other month.
dude, a couple years ago, I was creating content for them. So like, it's pretty awesome to right here, right now, to talk about all of the things that have happened. So yeah, 300. Let's get 300 more.
And with the draft just 20 days away, we only have a few more episodes of our Future Friday podcast. It will continue in the next draft cycle, but for this draft cycle, I believe we only got 2 or 3 left. So this will likely be the last episode where we break down individual prospects. We're going to have an episode where we discuss our big boards, whether that's top 20, top 25, maybe even top 30. Then, of course, we will have our final in-depth mock draft the Friday before the NBA draft. But we would be remiss if we did not kick off this episode with one of our favorite prospects of this entire draft cycle. It is none other than Jaylin Williams from the University of Arkansas. He is a power forward / center, stands at 6'10", has a 7'1" wingspan, weighs 237 pounds, 19 years old, will be 20 just about a week after the draft, from Fort Smith, Arkansas. A prospect that we see more value in than I think almost any other outlet out there. He is number 52 on Tankathon's big board, not ranked on the Ringer's big board. The season stats for Jaylin basically averaged a double-double, 10 points, 10 boards, a little over a steal, a little over a block, almost 3 assists per game, shot 46% from the field, 24% from downtown, 73% from the line, played in 37 games for the Razorbacks, nearly 32 minutes a game, and had a player efficiency rating of 18.9. A lot of accolades for Jaylin this year. He was first team All SEC as voted on by the coaches. He was SEC All Defense, again, voted by the coaches, an academic honor roll. He led the NCAA in drawing 54 charges. So he did that in 37 games, which is incredible. He set the Arkansas single season record for total rebounds with 364 and rebounds in SEC games, 183. He had 16 double-doubles, including 7 in a row, and each of the Razorbacks' 4 NCAA games, which was including the upset of the top-seeded Gonzaga Bulldogs at the time. Sage, why do we love this kid so much? What are we seeing that others just aren't?
I mean, we look at centers now, and there's Jokic and there's Embiid, and they're playmaking hubs for their offense. Obviously, Jaylin isn't that level, but his passing creates so much positive offensive momentum that it's a rare thing for a big to be that good of a passer. And I remember trying to convince you that Travion Williams was going to be a DHO operator and a playmaking hub for an offense. And I still believe that he is amazing as a passer, but Travion's going to get exposed defensively. Jaylin can do all the things passing-wise that Travion can, but won't be an absolute train wreck as a defender. So you look at what Grant Williams is doing. You look at what even Kevon Looney's doing. You look what Draymond Green's doing with the passing and the playmaking. That's where bigs, of course, rebounding is great, but like being able to be a playmaking big just creates so many mismatches. Even look what Yusuf Nurkic does when he's not trying to create a passing lane and that isn't there. That type of offense is so rare to have. And he has so many rare attributes that, yeah, he should be bumped up to the second center on the board because of all the rare things that he does on the basketball court. There's not that many bigs that you can trust doing DHOs and passing it to cutting players. It is such a rare commodity that you see one that's ranked 55 and you're just like confused on why he's that low.
Yeah, to me, Jaylin is going to be an elite role player at the next level. I think I project him as a small ball 5, but he can get away playing the 4 if the center can stretch the floor alongside of him. What I really enjoyed about Jaylin, and he was a player that I would tune into Arkansas games just to watch him. Not to watch the opponent, not to watch maybe some of his teammates. Arkansas had a really fun team this year, coached by Eric Musselman.
They're going to be good next year too.
Dominant at home in the SEC, but I would tune in just to watch this big man play basketball. Arkansas gave him a lot of responsibility on offense and defense. He was their anchor on both ends of the floor. Since you led with it, let's talk about his offense. I think he's very comfortable with the ball in his hands. There were multiple times where a team would zone up Arkansas and he would just float to the middle of the key, foul line extended, and Arkansas would initiate the offense through him, put the ball in his hands, asking him to make the right read. He just makes a smart pass. Incredible basketball IQ on both ends of the court. Just a very savvy player. Like we talk about feel for the game. I don't know if there's anyone that has a higher feel for the game, maybe on the same level, but he has an incredible feel for the game. And he's mobile. Like that's the thing when you look at these bigs is that they might be a little bit slow prodded or heavy footed. Not Jaylin. Jaylin can move up and down the floor. And in the offense, when he's not initiating it with the ball in his hands, he is a threat out of the pick and roll. He showed really good standstill pick and pop ability from 3, and he showed really great rim running potential as well. And he knows how to finish with thunder. So I really like that. I just like the versatility that he provides on offense. He's going to be a low usage player who you don't have to run offense for. You're not going to post him up. You're not going to have to do anything. He's going to create for himself and for others.
Yep.
I just think he's got everything you want. I think when you're watching him, this is what I put on my notes. He is the prototypical love-hate player. I think you're going to love to have him on your team and you're going to hate to play against him. Like in a sense, like there's a lot of Draymond in there because I know everyone would love to have Draymond Green on their team, but when you watch him, you're like, God damn, there's Draymond drawing another charge. There's Draymond stripping the ball, making the right read. Like why can't that player be on our team? Like teams are going to have a chance to find a real diamond in the rough in Jaylin Williams. And that's really only on the offensive side of the ball stage. I think he really excels, at least at this point in his development on the defensive end of the floor.
I mean, yeah, he might be the biggest flopper I've seen in the college game for a long time. He's aggressive with drawing charges, aggressive. And honestly, I haven't seen a big do that in a very long time since Boogie was in his prime. He would do that. So he's going to be a menace to any penetrating guard because he's absolutely willing to flop. I remember there was a little segment about him having like extra protection to handle all of these flops or drawing charges. But if he's willing to sacrifice his body for you, he's willing to play good defense. He's going to rebound at a good clip because he's getting a double-double damn near every game. He provides everything that you need and NBA fans are clamoring for. It's right here in Jalen Williams. You don't have to look that far. Like there's plenty of centers that in this class like have potential, and that's great. But you see somebody that provides all of these high level defensive attributes, offensive attributes at 55. Like consensus boards are wrong on him. He is in my first round, really like top, I think 17 right now. So.
He's 17 for me. Exactly. Yeah. 17 for me.
Yeah. Like it's Jaylin, then EJ. Like he provides something that's so rare, and everybody clamors for it in the playoffs when you see these bigs make big plays defensively and offensively. It's right here with Jalen Williams. But
he may not be the traditional, I think, rim protector that maybe a Walker Kessler or Mark Williams is, but he excels at the weak side and chase down blocks. He really moves his feet well. I think when comparing him to those other bigs in the class, I think he moves about as well as anybody, including Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren probably has a little bit athletic potential. Like
he has better closing speed,
but Williams is really mobile out there. And that's really what you want. You want to have a defender that is able to go out and guard these guards. Even look at Robert Williams last night in game 1 of the finals. He was up towards the 3-point line on Curry, but that didn't matter in that first half because Steph was just launching as soon as he got off of that pick and roll. So you need a big that can comfortably go out there, use length, use their size, and take away these long range, jump shooters that are continuously, pouring into the league at just a rapid rate. So I just think everything he gives, he's going to be just an intangible player. Like every team is going to need a Jaylin Williams. And I think whoever drafts him is just going to be making out like bandits.
Yeah, like I feel like he's the new era PJ Tucker. Like if he can develop a consistent corner three, he's PJ Tucker of the 2020s. And you see how PJ's on every playoff team imaginable.
PJ with 4 inches on him.
True. Yeah. You get the height and, all the intangibles and the passing. Like he has a chance to be the super role player in the playoffs that is just every team is clamoring for him. Everybody loves Grant Williams now. You couldn't tell me that Jalen Williams wouldn't be doing the same shit. Or remember when Xavier Tillman in his rookie year was the role player du jour? Jalen can do that. So I'm confused why consensus boards have him so low. But, when you see these guys like Jalen Williams, Ryan Rollins, and Dalen Terry, and I guess Terry now isn't a second-round pick.
But now scouts are finally coming around to Terry.
Yeah, but I haven't seen any first-round grades on Ryan or Jalen. But when you see those guys and you see them, you see what they can do, it's kind of scary to say, you know what? I'm going to push my chips in on these two prospects. And it looks like we're crazy now talking about the 56th pick in Tankathon as a first-round guy easy. But when you see this skill set, you got to just screw what the consensus boards say. This guy is good. He's going to be there in the playoffs. He is a playoff end of the last 5 minutes of the game role player that is going to make plays in the next level. So that's why I'm all about it. Like, I'm willing to place a bet on Jalen Williams and Ryan Rollins that those two are going to outproduce people that are drafted way ahead of them in the first round.
I would not take you up on that bet because I am right alongside with you. Moving on to another prospect, one of the top international prospects in this draft, Nikola Jovic, not to be known as Nikola Jokic, but both from Serbia. Jovic plays for Mega BMAX, small forward, power forward, 6'11", a little over 7-foot wingspan, weighs 223 pounds. 18 years old, will be 19 in probably about a week here. It's from Belgrade, Serbia, number 28 on the Ringers Big Board, 22 on Tankathons. Season stats were kind of all over the map for Jovic, so I'm not going to run them down. Just different outlets had different numbers for different seasons, because when you're international, you're playing in different leagues and you're playing in the under 19. Mm-hmm. But he's only 18, and that's the thing that I kept going back to when I was watching this prospect. only 18. And I think that that's important because usually when you're playing internationally, you're playing against grown men.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of what we're seeing with the G League Ignite as well. And you have to understand that while these players may not be as skilled as some of the top level collegiate players, physically, it's more of what you're going to see at the next level. What I noticed right off the bat from Jovic was just a beautiful looking jump shot, a quick release. He was able to shoot it off the bounce or off of the catch. So you have a player who is kind of your prototypical modern big man who was able to stretch that floor. But he also was able to put the ball on the floor. He had a really solid handle for a player of his age and his size. What I saw time and time again on tape was he loves dribbling to a spot, kind of stopping on a dime, getting a little separation, and then doing that Dirk one-legged fall away, which is not surprising. I mean, Dirk is arguably the greatest international player of all time. So you've got kids, especially probably from Europe, following the NBA, watching Dirk,
emulating him,
seeing what he does, and now that's going to be a part of NBA games for decades to come.
I mean, it generates a lot of space.
He's got that good wingspan. So, I mean, you don't have to be, so he's not going to jump off of the page at you with his athleticism. And so that's where the fall away comes from. And Dirk was never going to jump off the page with his athleticism either, but he was crafty and he just retuned and refined his shot year after year to where it didn't matter if he had a hand in his face. If he got the ball out of his fingertips, it was likely going in. But I still think like a young Nowitzki, Jovic moves pretty well for a player of his size. Now he's not going to be a lockdown defender. Right now he does struggle in space, especially on ball. So I don't know if he's ever going to be a plus defender, and I think that's what's probably keeping him in the later part of the first round of the draft. But on tape, he does look like he has some awareness off ball and playing the passing lanes and kind of being a disruptor on that end, which kind of generates his offense because he has really good grab and go potential, able to initiate the break with that handle. There are a couple of comparisons that really kind of jumped out at me. When I first watched him, I was like, okay, this guy reminds me a little bit of Kyle Anderson, but with a jump shot. And then I was reading other scouting reports and somebody was like shades of Danilo Gallinari. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. So you can kind of get the idea of what type of prospect you're getting in Jovic. Clearly he's got to get stronger. I mean, but again, and I go back to that, only 18 years of age, you can get someone in a weight room, you can get them on a program and you can build them up, 1 to 2 years and they'll be ready to contribute. So, I think he's still pretty raw and he really needs to learn a lot on the defensive side of especially the NBA game. But I love his ability to move without the ball. He finds openings to score, strong playmaking potential. If he plays with 1 to 2, players who have a really large gravitational pull, and he can be that 4th or 5th best starter, he's going to get some open looks. He's going to spread that floor. He's going to be a valuable contributor. So, I understand exactly why these scouting sites have him in the first round. He's definitely a first round prospect for me. I don't know if he's going to be like I don't know if he hits Gallinari or if he becomes, a faster Kyle Anderson, but at 18, I've liked enough of what I saw of him to be like, yeah, I would invest a 4-year contract into Nikola Jovic, especially with the success you're not starting to see, but the continued success of the international prospects. It just seems like there's more of a foreign flair in the NBA as the days go by. I mean, we're seeing MVPs. I mean, I can't remember the last American-born MVP stage. I mean, it's Giannis and Nikola Jokic. Like, Embiid is a menace. Like, we've seen Dirk win the Finals MVP. Dirk, arguably a top 5 power forward of all time. You go back to even Sabonis and Petrovic. Like, this is coming. Like, we're gonna see a handful of foreign prospects just really take over the league and earn roster spots and rotational minutes. So if a team can invest in Jovic and can see the vision that, okay, by year 3, we're going to have a spot for him and he's going to be ready. We're going to develop him in our program. That's the spot for him to go. I don't think you draft him if you need somebody right away. You draft him with the hopes of, I like what I see now, but with a little fine tuning and polish, I mean, this kid could really shine.
So you mentioned the shades of players. Like, does he have that craft that Kyle Anderson and Danilo is one of the best 1v1 players in the generation? So can he generate offense himself and then create? Is that something that you see a potential of him being like the secondary guy on a team?
Oh, for sure. I think you can definitely have him bring the ball up the court, initiate the offense. He makes the smart read. Like, he does make some bad passes at times, but again,
18 though.
18. And, when you do have the ball in your hands, we've seen it year after year. The league leaders in turnovers are the players that have the ball in their hands, whether it's Steve Nash or Russell Westbrook or, whoever. But I like the kid. I don't think.
Where is he on your board?
23.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's definitely the potential of, like, anytime there's secondary potential, you have to take a look at it. That's why I value that playmaking so high. If you can create for others, your stock and your potential of, does he have a potential of stardom?
Maybe one-way stardom. I don't know if he's ever going to be a lockdown, a two-way.
Would he be a net neutral defender at his peak, or would he still be a little bit of a negative?
I couldn't answer that. Like, it's easy to say, and we've seen this over time. If someone's needs to hit the weight room, that tends to happen with work ethic. When it comes to lateral quickness, I don't know the science behind that, how players are able to improve that, if they're just born with it naturally or whatnot. Some people have quick hips, some people aren't able to turn their hips, or they have fast feet. So I couldn't say, but I do think with time he could become more intelligent defensively and at least be a net neutral off-ball defender. Like, I have a hard time thinking he's going to ever just like shut it down on that defensive end. I don't see that. But when you say like net neutral, like, there were times last night where Robert Williams was a net neutral, net negative defender because he couldn't get out on Steph. But that's not a deterrent to Robert Williams. He's a fantastic defender. It's just that there are some players in this league, like Steph Curry, where no one's guarding them when they're feeling like that. So it's terms like net neutral and net negative, like, it all pertains to context. Mm-hmm. So it's tough. I couldn't give you an answer for that, but I will say, in 4 or 5 years, I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting on a really good team and he's doing things that Gallo did.
I mean, shit, I remember Gallo taking that Clippers team to the playoffs with Doc Rivers. So,
and he was tough with the Nuggets too.
Yeah, he was a bad motherfucker. So, do you want me to talk about JD, or are we going to leave the biggest disagreement for last? What do you want me to do? What do you want to talk about next, JD or Pat?
Let's just get going on Patrick Baldwin Jr. So he is a freshman, stands about 6'10", almost 7'2" wingspan, weighs 231 pounds, from Sussex, Wisconsin, is 19 years old, played at Milwaukee under the head coach of his father was the head coach, 5-star recruit. Duke was recruiting him pretty heavily, decided to stay home and play for his dad. It did not really work out for Pat this year, just played in 11 games, averaged a little over 12 points, almost 6 rebounds, slightly under and a block and a steal per game, 1.5 assists, shot 26.5% from three, 34.5% from the field, and 74.5% from the foul line. Played in about 29 minutes per game and had a player efficiency rating of 13.9. you have a higher.
I want to hear your negatives first. But yes,
Okay.
I'm much higher. I'm much
Yeah.
higher, Pat.
So when I was watching him,
Did you watch clips or did you watch the full game and torture
I'm not
yourself?
watching. This is like we are on the last of the last, right? We've been doing this since January. We're talking about 4 prospects a week. I got some stuff to do, so I'm not about to watch Milwaukee
Okay.
basketball. So there
They're
we
the
go
worst
there.
team I've ever seen.
So with that said, I did spend about an hour watching him though. So I was watching Floor and Ceiling, and he had, I think, the best way to surmise Patrick Baldwin at this point, and I think it articulates both my stance on him and your stance on him. As a player, Patrick Baldwin is more of an idea than a reality at this point. And I love that because you see a player who is 6'10, long, has a nice jump shot, and you're like, okay, yeah. But when he gets on the floor, none of that really comes through. It's to me, he's just a long way away from ever contributing. Reminds me immediately of Perry Jones the third. Perry Jones the third was a top rated prospect.
Okay, I thought it was going to be. I think I called him the low budget KD.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, like, you get that long, lanky guy who could shoot from three. Perry Jones, I believe, went to Texas A&M, just busted. Was a second round pick of the Thunder. Everyone thought they may have got the steal of the draft, and he never materialized. Some players just peak at the high school level. So that's kind of where I'm at with Patrick Baldwin. Like, I think it's just high school hype. He has a pretty jump shot when it's set, but outside of putting the ball on the floor, any sort of movement, like the shot selection was terrible. He needs to get stronger. He missed short so many times. He missed wild. I mean, really, nothing was really consistent about his game. I thought the handle needs an incredible amount of work. He was unable to get separation, even in the Horizon League, which is scary. I know he played on a bad team, but Damian Lillard played on a really bad Weber State team and was still able to look good. CJ McCollum took Lehigh and beat Duke. We're talking about Ryan Rollins, both in our first round. Toledo's not a great team either, but we see what Ryan Rollins is able to do. So,
but you're mentioning 3 guards that have playmaking ability.
I'm just saying, for this kid who was projected to go top 10, I understand there might have been some situations. You look at Zaire Williams last year at Stanford, Brandon Boston at Kentucky really had disappointing years, but both had good years this year in the NBA. So there is a chance it clicks for Patrick Baldwin Jr. But I don't know. I personally would not use a first round draft pick and a 4-year guaranteed contract on this player. If he slips to 59, sure. Roll the dice on him. There are so many other prospects that I like in this draft that I don't see it. Like, I watched him and I was just like, so like, I was like, really? Like, that was just my Patrick Baldwin. He just didn't look happy. Maybe a change of
scenery. Yeah, well,
he's
playing on the most dog shit team.
He chose to do that, though.
Yeah,
he chose to do that.
How do I talk about this? I don't think you're the YouTube guy watched Patrick Baldwin, to be completely honest. I don't think he did.
An hour was enough, and I was like, no more. I need
okay. My time. I think the person that you watched their YouTube didn't watch him enough. To be completely honest. When I watch
he's falling stage.
That's fine. You know what? I'm willing to bet on Patrick Baldwin. I know that he just had the worst combine ever, and I get that. But I'm willing to bet on the 6'10" guy that has skill set and is a good shooter. I know that statistics don't say that he is, but he had every bit of the only guy that can beat us is Patrick Baldwin. Let's send every bit of pressure at him. I remember saying this with Tyrese Maxey, that he was the only shooter on Kentucky. That's why his shooting percentage was so low. There's context to it. And I know that I think that there was a problem with the initial ranking of him because he isn't a top 5 guy. He isn't that level. He's not a creator super dominant guy. He's a guy that's going to take advantage of creation that somebody else makes, and he's going to use his shooting ability, which I believe in, and spread the floor. I think that he is a plus passer. And the reason that his assist levels were so bad was because his teammates couldn't make open shots. When I watched him, I kind of saw like a Hito Turkoglu level passer where, yeah, he didn't have the greatest ISO to create, but he would find the right passer. When he got to the lane, he would make the right pass. I'm willing to bet on him as an offensive connector. Like, there's no way he's ever going to be that number one option. There's no way he's going to be that number two. But if you're looking for a guy that can shoot and make the right pass and do all the right things, like I watched him, he was the only guy that could beat a 2-3 zone on his team. So I believe in the intelligence that he has. I believe in the shot. I think the passing is so underrated. Like, when he makes that right pass, he makes the right skip. He's going to be a guy that gets the ball, makes a quick, fast decision, gets it to the player that needs to get the ball, and he's going to stretch the floor. I know that this year was extremely difficult for him. That Milwaukee team could not make a pass out of a 2-3 zone. It was just a bad team. So, of course, context is going to make him look bad, but I believe in the playmaking abilities of him, and I believe in the shot. He's going to be a third or a fourth guy on a team. That's why I have him at like 18. He's after EJ Liddell. I mean, I'm going to bet on the guy that has tools. He has a bag offensively. Like, I think the biggest problem is going to be from the 3-point to the basket, but he has craft finishes as well. So I think his offense is great. His defense, kind of bad. I've seen him he made stock plays where he got steals and blocks, but I think his intelligence is going to keep him on the floor defensively, because I think he's a very smart player. But yeah, watching those two or three Milwaukee games while I ate lunch this week was one of the most painful experiences I've ever seen in my life. That team was rock awful. But I see a guy that's a plus offensive player and a plus passer.
I always worry about players who are considered shooters and just can't shoot the basketball in game. And what we're talking, yeah, Milwaukee is a bad team, but it's not like their schedule was murderer's row. He shot only 50% one time this year, and that was a 1-for-2 performance. Their schedule included North Dakota, Eastern Kentucky, Florida, Bowling Green State, Robert Morris, Colorado, Rhode Island, Green Bay, Purdue, Fort Wayne, Cleveland State, and Northern Kentucky twice. Okay, if we count the 1-for-2 performance, he went 9-for-14 against Robert Morris. So really, one time
he was on fire against Robert Morris.
One time, and he shot. Your team's bad, but you're supposed to be 6'10". You're supposed to be a 5-star guy. Like,
but he isn't a 5-star guy.
Then I don't see how, if he's not a 5-star player, then how is he still so high on your board when, like, 18? Like, that's a really good rating. Like, that's higher than I've seen anybody give him. So that's why I was a little surprised that you have him that high.
Well, I don't see him as I feel like a 5-star guy is like super high usage, all like Jaden Ivey. I see him as a third guy that is going to stretch the floor and pass really well. I mean, how many 5-star guys are there every year? It's a pretty lofty accomplishment for you to be a 5-star guy. But I definitely see a good basketball player when I watch him. I guess the swing skill is going to be, is he a actual shooter or a shooter in my mind? But when I watched him shoot, the shot's pretty, it's sustainable, but like I just think that the added pressure of him being the only option on offense makes it so the defense can key in on him. And I know that it's a low level environment, but having 100% of the defensive attention, it's going to affect everybody. So if you're thinking Pat Baldwin is going to be a superstar, you're going to be really upset. But if you're going to say that he isn't like worthy of a first round pick or he doesn't have a role in this league, I think you're wrong on that. I think it's somewhere in the middle where if you're looking for that fourth guy on offense, Pat Baldwin can do it.
I just don't see him in the league in the next 4 years. There's something. The league is elite. The league is elite. So that doesn't mean he's not like good at basketball. It's just I don't think he's an NBA player. Like there's the talent level every year continues to rise. Like he needs to just step it up, and you believe he will. I don't think he will. That's just the bottom line. Like he has potential to do it.
6'10" guy with a sweet stroke, and
there are a ton of players like that don't make the league. You have to like. I go back to Luke Babbitt. Yeah, he was like 6'9", knocked down every shot in practice that I went to. I mean, just was money. Got in the games and just was a completely different player. And I know they're completely different players, but in that sense, like Luke Babbitt was a fucking great basketball player. Not an NBA basketball player, but like go to any park and probably take a lot of people's money. I think Baldwin could do that too. But like the NBA is elite. So I think he's going to have to figure something out. Maybe it was just a bad year for him, and if he does, that's good on him. But I didn't see it. Like I think he was overrated in terms of his high school ranking, and maybe that played into just everything. And maybe he can be a role player in the league. I just personally wouldn't spend a first round pick on a player with so much quote unquote potential, but didn't show me anything. Like if you're going to have potential, like I need to see something. I gotta get a little bit of a taste. I left really hungry watching Patrick Baldwin.
Well, I think that is the difference between watching full games and clips. I get to see you have the you're watching stuff under the bias of somebody else, not your own. So when I watched the Rhode Island game, the Colorado game, and the Robert Morris game, I was like, okay, they're sending a legit, like in the Colorado game, they're sending a legit defender at him. Yeah, he's having trouble, but that legit defender is spending 100% of it. Like there is no help side defense. He's getting every bit of defensive pressure. He isn't a number one or a number two. He's a number three offensive player. And context matters. I think he was probably in the worst situation imaginable for a high valued player. And yeah, he's going to get the negative attention, but like the way that he can run an offense and told how his teammates how to play and how obviously they weren't skilled enough to actually do it. But I think the basketball IQ and the will keep him in the league. But maybe I know. You know what? I'm not even going to say a maybe. I think he's going to make it.
All right, let's move on to JD.
Okay, he is not my prospect, just to let everybody know. He is from Bama, 5-star recruit, one of the top point guards in the class. The thing that stood out to me was his athleticism. Let me pull the actual notes that I have of him. So his points per game was 8.5 points per game, 4.3 assists, 4.8 rebounds a game. He was extremely, extremely athletic, and the bounce and his quick first step, I think, are super duper elite. Like he's one of those prototypical explosive guards that you see in college and in the NBA where like he's relying 100% on his athleticism. I think that as a defender, he is a high level point of attack defender. I'm trying to get all the positives out of the way right now. The change of direction. Okay, well, I'm going back to offense. Change of direction as a dribbler was really interesting, how he exploits defenders. I think that he can get to the rim whenever he wants in the next level because of the bounce, the athleticism, the package, the dribble package. The part where it gets tough, and also, one second. The dribble package. And I think that his vision is really great when he's driving. So like when that help comes, because he is a high level athlete, he's able to pass it well. And it's in the right, the passes in the right places for the offense. But I have serious issues with the shooting. I think he's one of the worst decision makers when it's not on the drive, because his turnover numbers were insane. But if you're looking for a guy that has all the tools in the world to be that athletic playmaker, JD is that guy. But the shot is bad. It needs to be way more consistent. The mechanics of it, the form is pretty trash. But when I watched him, and we've obviously seen this guy play this year, but I saw Dennis Smith Jr. and with the high outcome as Eric Bledsoe. So he's not on my first round, but he was one person that I was interested in because of all the tools that he has. But I don't think that he's an actual first round quality player. But if you wanted to take a risk on somebody that could be a point of attack defender and play make at a pretty damn good level, if he can cut out the passing, you have it in JD. But no, he was not one of my prospects, but he was one of the prospects that I watched.
Well, yeah, you said you watched him a while ago, so we figured we would add him here. Yeah, I didn't spend any time on JD. I only saw him in passing, whether Alabama was playing Arkansas or Auburn, and I didn't really.
He's one of those guys I wish would stay in college and develop. But I believe he already said that, goodbye to Auburn or at Alabama, he's going to the league. I think that is a pretty big mistake, because if he has more years, he can develop into something. You see the leap for so many players, but the tools as a pure athletic playmaker are absolutely there. The decision making has to improve, but he's got all those tools that you see in those guards that are super high level athletes. So
it's not again, a good year to be a point guard.
What's up? Yeah,
none of the top point guards can shoot. Ty, Kennedy Chandler, JD, like it just seems like the two things you want out of a modern day point guard: can you shoot the basketball and can you make your teammates better? And it just seems like those are two weak points for JD Davidson. So yeah, I would be upset if my team took a player like that in the first round.
Yeah, like the swing factors are obviously shooting, but when I watched him, and I watched quite a bit of Bama, even though my analysis right now isn't the best, he let Shackelford and Keon be those elite offensive players. So I didn't have a chance to really decide, is he a high IQ player or not? So it's kind of confusing. Like, if you think that he's neutral as that IQ, because he hasn't shown you anything else, is he? If he has a higher IQ than DSJ, he can do more things. But the fact that he turned the ball over at such a high rate, it's like, I don't know if he actually is smarter, or the Bama scheme saved him. So I wouldn't use any of my draft capital on him, and I think the point guard class is really, really bad. So if you're looking for a point guard, this is not the year to do it. So, but not the best. He would be the last on my list of all the players that we scouted. He is absolutely the last.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps up this episode of Future Friday. We will be back next Friday, probably to talk about our big boards, see where we agree, where we disagree, who the biggest discrepancy. I've had some changes to mine recently.
My top four is completely different now.
I think yours is as well. So it'll be interesting to see where we have the players ranked. I'm thankful there's no more scouting to do. They're fun, but they are so time consuming, especially when we're trying to pack in the players um, that continuously rise or fall up the boards, and try to get to a full first round of players that you feel comfortable knowing about. But I'm glad we started in January. Maybe we start a little bit earlier next year. And it's also a very busy sports season. So you've got WNBA, MLB, NBA finals. So it's definitely finding time like to watch that some of these players has been a challenge for me. So I'm glad to just talk about players that we have scouted and known and can just kind of get to the fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, watching Milwaukee of Wisconsin play basketball was one of the most draining experiences I've ever done as a basketball fan. But most of the time, most of the discussion is about those top 5-6 players in these analysis. So I like the fact that we talked about guys with legitimate flaws in their game, like not being able to shoot and high turnover rate, or played on the worst team possible and as a 5-star recruit. How does that impact the draft grade? So I think that we as fans think about that first, but when New Orleans got Herb Jones and Jose Alvarado, those two were humongous, players for them. And, like Jose is going to make Devontae Graham and Kyra Lewis expendable. He was a non-drafted player.
Kyra was a lottery pick.
Yeah. There's skilled players. I mean, the fact that the guy that we talked about in the most glowing is rated 55 on Tankathon, like those picks matter in the second round. So I'm glad that we're actually doing the due diligence on them, because I don't think a lot of people are talking about Jaylin Williams. They're talking about Dyson Daniels and Benedict Mathurin, but we went down to the dirt and talked about those players that are going to be there at 56. In your world, Pat Baldwin will be there.
Might be.
I'm going to put some money on the fact that he'll be a first round pick when DraftKings is able to do that. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I am a hungry boy. It is 1 p.m. Thank you for listening to our 300th episode. Thank you to all the people that have supported us throughout the years. Peace.